when you manage a family-owned business and your efforts are to make it as a corporate and position as a successful corporate in Indian economy, how challenging it is?
I think from our family culture, we understand how to be a corporate. I don't think Runaya has to be sort of a large corporate. I think in a weird way, we find ourselves like a startup. And I think we enjoy that. We have the nimbleness and the agility to take quick decisions. In larger corporates, for things to happen, you have to go through many layers of decision making. I think here we can snap our fingers and we can make things happen. And I think we like being positioned and we like to function in a young way, but definitely having this heritage family business, we're able to bring so many global best practices into Runaya. So right now we're at this weird space where we some ways have these corporate practices, and then in some ways we behave very small and young like a startup. Eventually, I'm sure we'll be at a size where we'll have to be much more corporate and much more official. But I don't think the challenge of that is frightening to us.
That's very interesting. And when we talk about your perspective on sustainability, it sounds very radical. Can you please talk a little more about your perspective on industrial sustainability?
This is an area on which I am extremely passionate. I can give you some statistics very briefly. So this year, humanity as a species is expected to generate around 2 billion tons of MSW, municipal solid waste, urban waste. And maybe around 10 to 15 billion tons of agricultural waste. But we're going to generate upwards of 100 billion tons of industrial waste. And more than 60% of that will not be processed whatsoever. So the space is so large, and there's so much value in industrial waste. And from a peer and competitor point of view, we're able to find companies and startups in the urban waste space, in the agricultural waste space, but there's so few companies and startups coming up in this industrial waste space, and that's why at Runaya we find ourselves very uniquely positioned to go move into innovation and research and find the right technologies and the right partners to really take us on this sustainability mission. And I mean, this year we'll prevent 100,000 tons of waste from entering landfills in India, and very soon that number won't stay at 100,000 tons. We're hoping for it to be upwards of 5 million tons of waste per year.
That's interesting. And also when we talk about Runaya's role and how you are approaching sustainability, can you also mention about a couple of initiatives what you are taking up in this organization?
Definitely. So at the conceptually what we do at Runaya is we find industrial waste that from which we are able to recover valuable metals. So as I mentioned, this year we'll be processing around 100,000 tons of waste. From that, we'll be recovering around 45,000 tons of precious metal. And most interestingly, with the around 50,000 tons of residue which we have left after metal recovery, we are converting that residue into value-added products like the calcium aluminate plant which we inaugurated today. That is one of the products we'll be making with the residue after metal recovery. So conceptually, we are taking waste and we are a zero waste company. So every kg of waste which comes to us is completely processed, and it's processed into recovered metal and then saleable product. So we're super proud to implement this same model across several metals. Today, Runaya, we are recovering around 7 different metals from various wastes. And of course, over the next 3 to 5 years, we will be recovering an additional 25 metals. So we have an outlook of around 30 metals that we want to recover.
And this is very inspirational that you are aiming to create a zero wastage company process. And how do you measure that in terms of milestones, sustainability milestones?
Our only metric for success, our only measure is number of tons of waste prevented from entering landfills. So to give you an idea, last year we prevented 50,000 tons of waste from entering landfills. This month we hit cumulatively 100,000 tons of waste we've prevented from hitting landfills. And then just this year alone, we'll prevent another 100,000 tons. So we've been growing at 2x every year, and we will continue to grow at 2x every year. As I said, the industrial sustainability space is such a wide space. Raw material availability is not a constraint for us. So we can grow as much as we are able to access technologies, partners, land, and of course we have constraints. We don't want to be doing 100 things at the same time. We want to do maybe 10 things and do them well. So around every year we'll be doubling our capacity, and every year we'll be doubling the amount of waste we are preventing from entering landfills.
Wow! And what will be the long-term sustainability goal you want to aim at?
We are very clear. We want to reach 5 million tons of waste processing capacity, annual waste processing capacity. With those 5 million tons of waste, we will be recovering around 250,000 tons of metal, for between 250 and 500,000 tons of precious metal, and we'll be creating various saleable products with the residues. So 5 million tons is the goal, but it's not a long-term target. By FY29 or FY30, we are hoping to reach that.
Absolutely. In metallurgy as well as non-metallurgy industries, now in India, we started hearing about sustainability. How do you look at Indian economy getting involved around sustainability?
You know, India, one thing I really enjoy to say to people, I think sometimes we forget, at least when I was growing up, my mother, my grandmother, if by chance a plastic bag enters my house, I'm sure it was the same in your house. If a plastic bag enters my house, there's a 0% chance that plastic bag is being thrown. It is being carefully folded twice and put inside the drawer. And then if I need to use it, my mom will be like, do you want a big one or a small one? Because if I have a small thing, she's not giving me a big plastic bag. If a 2-liter Coke bottle came home, after 2 months I'd see still that bottle is there somewhere in the kitchen. Someone has used it as a water bottle. It's become a planter after that. We have reuse in our blood in India. We reuse everything. Reuse is the fundamental core value of sustainability. This is why I feel like people forget that we were raised in a culture that does not throw things away. And in terms of the Indian economy, I think you'll see that there's a lot of interest around sustainability. All the large companies have made very tall statements about their carbon neutrality plans for 2050 or 2030. And I don't think India is far behind the rest of the world.
Talking about Runaya, we see a lot of alliances, strategic technology alliances as well as research alliances. How these alliances are assisting you to grow exponentially?
Alliances and partnerships are our mode of execution. We cannot execute without having the right partners. One of our key skills at Runaya is partner selection and partner locking. So that's what we're really good at. We are good at going out into the domestic and global markets, finding the experts, whether that be technology experts, whether that be research experts, whether that be subject matter experts. We go out, we find the best, most knowledgeable people or the best processes and technologies. And then we have various modalities of partnership. And through these partnerships, we've been able to establish very long-term relationships with companies from around the world. Um, we have relationships with companies from Germany, from Australia, from China, um, from the United States, and of course from several companies in India. And we're going forward as well, to reach our 5 million ton target, we will continue to require several more partners to bring their technologies to bring those technologies to India for us to adapt it for our conditions. So partnership is very core to what we do.
I believe that you also have partnership with a lot of academic institutions as well, right?
Yeah.
How do they contribute to you?
So, like I was mentioning earlier, there are very few companies in the country in this industrial sustainability space, and that leaves us very uniquely positioned. But what it also does is, if we are unable to find a partner or a solution available in India or globally, we have to build those solutions ourselves. So when we find a problem, first we try to find who's already solved the problem and what partner can help us solve that problem. But in the case we are unable to, or in the case that has never been done, like for example, Runaya in cahoots with IIT Kharagpur in January received a patent for a process to convert waste into raw material to make aluminum. And this is the first time in the world anyone has been able to crack this process. So without partners like without the research institutes, we wouldn't be able to offer the kind of solutions that we do today.
Fabulous. Can you talk about what is Runaya Ultra? If you can explain a little more about it.
Definitely. So Runaya Ultra is an ultra low carbon aluminum product. It is the aluminum that is recovered through the Runaya process. To give you an idea, traditional aluminum, coal-fired aluminum, costs between 15 to 20 tons of carbon for each ton of aluminum. To be considered green aluminum, you have to put in some renewable interventions and manufacture aluminum at around 4 tons of carbon per ton of aluminum. Our Runaya Ultra, our recovered aluminum, is certified at under 500 kgs of carbon per ton of aluminum. So if the threshold for green aluminum is 4 tons, we are under 500 kgs. So as far as my knowledge goes, and I've been in this space for a while, there is no greener aluminum available in the world than the aluminum that Runaya is recovering.
Thank you, Mr. Annanya Agarwal, for interacting with OEM.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.